Well, everybody, I'm sorry about the confusion that we had on that link. I thank you guys for your patience. I'm going to go ahead and get started to respect your time. My name is John Morgan, and I'm with Innovative Cloud Solutions. We're going to show you today Acumatica Cloud ERP. I've got everybody on mute just because I've got a lot to show you that I want to try to keep this inside of an hour. But if you have questions, please put them on the chat button, and we'll address those at the end. But I want to make sure I get through everything that I can up front. So the reason we're having this meeting, because of what's been going on with this virus and in our economy and so forth, a lot of things have changed and shifted in the workplace, and there's been a lot of different things that made businesses really had to reconsider how they operated. There are many businesses, and frankly, all of them around where I live in Virginia, are working out of their home these days. And the question, is begged: can we be productive and still work remotely? And the answer to that question is a resounding yes, if you can leverage the cloud technology out there and access critical information and information that's relevant to your business, and make decisions and still collaborate even on a virtual or a cloud-based environment. So that's what we're going to show you today, Acumatica Cloud ERP, which is an ERP system that's you can access it anywhere, anytime, have virtual collaboration, stay resilient, quick on your feet, and at the same time be confident that the data that you're looking at is accurate, real-time, and one version of the truth. Everybody, no matter where they are accessing the same real-time, accurate information. We don't know how long this thing's going to last, but one thing I will say, maybe it's a good thing, is that businesses are starting to discover there are benefits to working remotely. So that's one thing, maybe it'll come out of this that's good. The purpose today is to give you just a very high-level overview of Acumatica Cloud ERP, like a 30,000 level or foot, flyover demo to kind of get the touch and feel of the system, and to see how you might be able to derive value from turning your data into information that you can act on and make informed decisions, and see how your teams, no matter where they are, can see the same data, one accurate version of the truth, and gain true insight into your business, drive growth, give you accurate reporting, and at the same time be able to scale when your business is picked back up. This would be a long-term solution, potentially to last for decades. You don't want to have to rip and replace this type of software. This is a type of software that would last for many years. One thing I'll also mention about Acumatica, it's built for the multi-cloud world. It's designed to integrate with niche software, specialty software. I'll mention that or go into that just a little bit as we go on today's demonstration. So again, big picture, we just want you to get a big sense of direction. Does this look like something that potentially could benefit our business? If that is the case, I'll bring back my contact information at the very end of this call. We'd be happy to have a one-on-one conversation with you and talk about how potentially we could help your business. So with that, I just want to hit a couple of, very briefly, just a couple of PowerPoint slides that I think will probably answer some questions up front. And the first one is, who is Innovative Cloud Solutions? So if you were to purchase Acumatica Cloud ERP, you would not buy the software from Acumatica. 100% of all installations and training and so forth of Acumatica is done through a third-party partner system, of which Innovative Cloud Solutions is part of that. So what Innovative Cloud Solutions, just a little bit about us, we've been around 24 years. We do exclusively ERP and CRM consulting and implementations. We've got offices in Richmond, that's where I reside. Headquarters is in Buffalo, New York. And we've got a large office also in Orlando, about 30 consultants total. And all we do is ERP implementations. We do all the data migration, the training, support, customization, soup to nuts, from the initial discovery phase all the way through post-implementation training and support. What we run into on a regular basis, probably while you're on this call, is that we have a lot of businesses that have disconnected systems, multiple software systems, data silos, things aren't different data is not talking to each other. You have multiple versions of the truth. You have different software applications updating at different times. Different parts of your business are siloed. It just gets to be kind of a mess. What we look to do is to pull this together into an overall system that pulls your major business components into a centralized system with a single version of the truth, where data flows just to the people that need to see it in real time. Everybody's seeing the same data. It's available on a mobile application, and you have one major system to really keep up with. The product we're going to show you today is Acumatica. Acumatica is the fastest growing ERP vendor in the entire world. Right now, about 6,500 customers, and they're growing very quickly. Founded in 2008 in Seattle, Washington. Offices across the United States, including Seattle, Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, Montreal, Canada, and then several offices across the world. The industries that Acumatica works with is the service organizations, which would include project accounting and so forth, distribution with inventory, sales orders, production orders, full manufacturing suite, ERP, MRP, full retail, e-commerce, other industries such as nonprofit and so forth. It really covers quite a few industries. I did want to show you this. You all may have heard of Nucleus Research or the Magic Quadrant done by Gartner Research. This particular Magic Quadrant comes out annually. The most recent one came out in June of 2019. And what it does, it looks at ERP providers and rates them on usability and functionality. Where you want to be, obviously, is in the upper right-hand corner of this chart. This is the third year in a row that Acumatica has rated the highest in usability of all the major ERP players. I mean, that includes the big boys, Sage, NetSuite, Dynamics, I mean, Oracle. You can look at the names on here. They're players that are on this chart. And Acumatica, year after year, ranks highest in usability. It's also, as you will note, in the leader as far as functionality. And I want you to note the direction that it's going as well. It's continuing to trend in the right direction. It's already the best in usability and trending to the right in functionality. It's a player in the system. It may not be as well known as some of the other ERP providers, but it's up and coming very quickly. And I will mention one other thing that's really nice about Acumatica is because they use a partner network like Innovative Cloud Solutions, they don't worry about sales and marketing. They strictly focus on the product and R&D and developing the product. And that's a lot of the reason they're sitting where they are in this chart. One other thing you probably are aware of, I just want to make sure you understand this, a cloud service like Acumatica, anywhere, any device, as long as you have web access, phone, iPad, computer, desktop, it doesn't matter, you have access to Acumatica. One other thing that's really interesting, and no other product that I've seen offers this licensing agreement. It's unlimited users. There's no per user license. You don't have to think, hey, if I want to add a user, it's going to cost me $1,000, this and that. Maybe I won't add them. It doesn't make sense at this point. You know, throw that thought process out the window and just think, I can add anybody, even if it's just a few screens infrequently, but it would still make sense to have them have access. It also is designed to scale with your business. You know, as you grow, you're not going to be penalized and just remove bottlenecks in your information flow within your company. From a deployment perspective, the majority of our clients are going with software as a service, SaaS. Just you get a username and a password and a URL, throw your hardware out the window, and you know, we do all the updates. It's very, you know, no IT costs go way down. It's the most simplified way to use the service. Some folks like to host it themselves on a private cloud. Certainly you can do that. That's an option as well. Or buy the software outright as opposed to a subscription and just put it on premise and own the software. And you can switch back and forth. Maybe you want to you put it on your own network, and then 2 years down the road, you know what, I want to go public cloud, SaaS. you can absolutely do that. And then finally, last slide here, and I'll get into the software. I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again because it's important. Acumatica's got a lot of built-in native modules, but in a lot of cases, it still makes sense to hook into various third-party applications. Acumatica is built with open architecture, open APIs, so that you can hook efficiently and data can flow between third-party applications, if that makes sense. Okay, let me jump into the software itself. Okay, so what you see here is I'm just going into a URL, I'm typing in a username and a password. I'm going to go in as the administrator. But one thing I want to mention up front is every user is going to have their own unique username and password, and associated with that username and password are going to be access permissions, rights to what screens, even down to the field level that you can see. So as an administrator, I'm going to have access to virtually all the system, but that's certainly not the case with most users. So I'm going to go ahead and hit sign in. When you log into the system, you fall into a screen that makes sense for you as that particular user. Now, in this case, I have logged into the controller dashboard. Now, it may make sense for a particular user to just go into a report or maybe some data entry screen or some other dashboard, but it's really where it makes sense for you as your unique user where you land. One other thing that I'll mention is really nice that people love about Acumatica. It is this intercompany accounting where you have roll-up and consolidating reporting. You can have unlimited companies and branches. In this case, I've got 3 companies and 4 branches where I've got products wholesale, products retail rolling up into systems consulting group and services east and west rolling up into revision 2 services and so forth. So you've got due to, due from accounting capabilities, consolidated reportings. You can look branch by branch. Maybe you would give people that are working, in Services East just access to Services East data, that type of thing. But you have you can roll up your data to companies and branches, which is really, really important. On the left here, we have what we refer to as workspaces. Workspace like the finance or the GL. So if you go into the finance workspace, you'll have everything that you would expect in a GL finance workspace, things like journal transactions, trial balance, chart of accounts, balance sheets, ledgers, things like that for your GL. But I want to just show you the elements. You've got these tiles across the top. These are just for easy access. You can make them whatever you want them to be. Maybe you'd have 10 across the top, or maybe just a couple of them. You also have these menu items that you can, of course, click on. But I want to show you, when you click on the finance, you'll see how it filters down. Click again, I'm toggling back and forth to a quick menu. Essentially, you can hit this little cog, and what it allows you to do is to check off whatever you want to show on your quick menu. So you can filter through. You may use these preferences once, and just forget about it forever, or maybe just access these preferences on a very infrequent basis. You don't need to see them every day, so you pare it down to what's really your day-to-day menu items. We empower the user to be able to do this on their own. They don't have to call any developer or anything. It's just simple. It's part of that usability piece that I was speaking about. The other relevant workspaces, I'll just touch on them so you see some of the ones that are in here. You've got time and expense. You've got a built-in banking module for bank reconciliation, AP, AR, full project accounting module, full fixed asset module, deferred revenue for revenue recognition, sales orders, purchase orders, inventory. I click more items. It's got a multi-currency application, sales tax, contract management. Maybe you've got multiple contracts renewing with customers at different times. A complete built-in CRM, marketing list, marketing campaigns, opportunities, sales pipeline, track that, support for tickets and cases, however you may want to call them, a built-in payroll module, service, a field service module that would track service orders, equipment, warranties, things like that, where your trucks are out in the field. And then I don't have it opened up, but there's also a full manufacturing module as well that would cover all things like bill of materials, MRP, things like that. I don't have that open on this ID. If I click on the Acumatica link in the upper left, it takes me home. I'm never lost. You'll notice when you go into these workspaces, you've got these stars. So if I want to make allocation a star, that turns it into a favorite. So that's going to show up in my favorite workspace. It's very similar to the quick menu, but the favorites incorporates menu items from all your various workspaces as opposed to looking at a single workspace and paring that down with the quick menu. So that's also very useful as well. This screen at the top, or this field, I should say, that says search, people absolutely love this, and I'll tell you why. A lot of the applications out there, it's hard to find data in the system. This field is in every single screen in Acumatica, and if you know a part of an address, a phone number, part of a phone number, an account number, an invoice number, you know, part of an address, a city, whatever it may be, you can type it in this field. I'll type in USA, and you will see 4 tabs pop up. And the first tab is menu items. You'll see any menu item that have USA in it. You'll see any transaction that has USA. There's this customer USA bartending. Here's a contract, an invoice, etc. You'll see any help articles that deal with USA. I think some of these deal with the tax system. And any attached file that has USA in the file name, you'll be able to find. So this button is on every screen. You can find anything very quickly in Acumatica using that, and people really like it. If you go into let me just go into a screen here. Every screen also has this little question mark. And if you click on that, it's going to give you everything about that screen. In this case, journal transactions, what procedures, concepts. One particular link that we get a lot of positive feedback on is this this form reference. And essentially what that does is it tells you what every single field means on that particular form. That, you know, this little button, this little question mark is on every single screen, so you can easily find what you want. One other thing, and this is a little thing, but people like little things, so I'll mention it. You can right-click and open in a new tab, so you can have 2 tabs open side by side. People like that because they, you know, a lot of times they just want to be able to see something side by side. That's just a little bit about just the layout of Acumatica. You can give yourself a little bit more real estate down here if you'd like. I want to focus a bit now on these dashboards just to kind of give you a feel for how they work. What's really nice about the dashboards is, well, first of all, there's a whole bunch of them that just come out of the box, but they're highly customizable by individual user or role. It's a, you know, it's a pleasing experience. You can see color, a visual. You can, you know, stay out of the weeds. It's almost like looking at 10 or 15 reports all at once. Your critical data is in front of you. The KPIs that make your job, you know, that are important to your job, are there in front of you all the time. This particular dashboard, the controller dashboard, you know, he's concerned about things like, hey, who owes us money? What cash is coming in the next 30 days, 60 days? Who do we owe money? Are we overdue on some payments? What cash is expected? You know, who's overdue 90 days plus? The cash position, what it looks like over time. All of these you can drill down into and set the parameters, colors, things like that. Who are the top people that owe us money? And I can drill down into any of these. You know, who owes, you know, what do I need to approve? Things like that. So these are all living, breathing documents. So if I want to say, hey, what was my cash position in August 2019, I can click on that, and here's my cash position and all my different cash accounts in that point in time. If I want to see, hey, who are my 32 overdue customers, I click on that, and here is a list of my 32 overdue customers. I want to focus a little bit on this list because it's an example of like a smart list, or we call them generic inquiries throughout the system, that you can manipulate your data in a variety of ways. As an example, you can drag your columns around. Maybe I want the invoice amount before the balance. This is user specific. Maybe I want to expand or collapse the size of a field. Maybe I want to sort it in a descending order or ascending order. Maybe I want to see a balance that's greater than or less than or between two numbers. You can also create these tabs across the top very easily with this funnel button. Here's 30 days overdue, 60 days overdue, who's on credit hold. Very easy. And these filters drive the dashboards, and they're throughout the system. You also have this column configurator. Maybe I want to add, overdue, balance overdue 90 days, and it'll just add that column to the system. So now I have an over 90-day column. If I go back to the dashboards, I will mention this as well. If you hit this design button, you can move these around. You can delete an element if you want. You can adjust an element. You can change colors, thresholds, the names, the icons, things like that. Very simple. You can hit this add a new widget, and you can add a new widget. These are called widgets, chart, a data table. You can embed a web page, a pivot table. It's integrated with Power BI. You can add Power BI tiles. These colored boxes are called scorecard KPIs. These trends, wiki pages, and all you do, as an example, I'll hit the scorecard KPI and hit next, is you just follow the prompts. You just pick a screen, you pick thresholds, you pick colors, you name it, you pick an icon. It's not rocket science. It's easy. It's, again, why Acumatica is rated so high in the usability area. And you can create your own dashboards. We'll do that for you, and there's a lot out of the box. But once you get once you play around with this a little bit, you'll be able to do that yourself. One other thing I'll show you, if I click on this overdue customers, and let's say I want to find a particular customer. I want to find a customer that contains USA. And it pulls up this customer, USA bartending. I'll go into this customer, and just to kind of show you the 360 view of a customer. So you have this tab called General Information, names, address, phone numbers, what customer class are they in, what's the write-off limit, credit limits, things like that. If you go into the billing settings, how do we want to bill them? How are we going to send them dunning letters? What locations is this customer? What's the primary location? How do they like to pay? They can, they like to pay by wire. We can accept that. Who are the contacts in the customer? Who are the salespeople? What are the commission rates? This next tab, attributes, is user-defined fields. You can make this whatever you want, report on it. I just put in a couple relatively generic ones in here. Company revenue and number of employees. But this could be, and these are, again, this is universal functionality throughout the system. This activities tab is wonderful. You can see everything about this customer, USA Bartending School, everybody that's touched them, what emails went out, what tasks, what work item, what phone calls were made, who did that, what was the date, what's open. That, it's really good to see all of that in one place. Again, what GL account is hit. You've got these drop-down menus if I want to see reports like AR balance, customer history, AR aging reports, a whole bunch, customer profile, a lot of different queries that you can pull in. What prices are we charging this customer? Do I want to send them a new? All kinds of different options, all from this customer card. You can have attached notes and files and notifications. I'll hit that a little bit in a minute too. So I just wanted to kind of hit that. The last thing I'll mention about these dashboards is all of the different vendors out there that offer dashboards, ERP players. The question is, how easy is it to use them? How easy is it to set them up? Or do you have to touch code? Is it complex? And that's the beauty of Acumatica. It's simplified, and you can do it yourself, or we can do it for you. I want to show you just a sample form, like the user interface, so you can get a feel for what it looks like. And I'm going to go into a journal transaction. But this user interface or this form, is common throughout the system. Maybe it would be a sales order, something about inventory, a purchase order, a journal transaction. They all have the same look and feel, and that's, again, a part of the usability. Once you understand one form, you'll understand other forms in Acumatica. The big picture is you've got this top area, which we call the summary area, in this case of a journal transaction, which will tell you, hey, what module are you in, AP, AR, etc. It'll tell you, hey, what's the date, what branch are we dealing with, what ledger are we working with, the real ledger, the actual or the reporting, statistical, what's the currency, things like that. These buttons across the top, well, let me come back to those. Down here at the bottom, you've got line items. So you can hit a plus sign, you can start adding individual items for journal transactions, or you could upload, and this is, again, universal functionality. I'm just going to choose a file. I'm going to choose this journal transaction, assuming I've been just creating a Excel spreadsheet and putting journal transactions in that. Now I want to upload it. Hit upload. It's going to hit the default. There's a simple mapping from the Excel spreadsheet into Acumatica. You can get a rendition of what fields are in there by downloading this Excel button, and it pulls in a journal transaction. No mistakes, no errors. It just pulls it verbatim into your system. So you could have added it manually, or you could pull it in, upload it. Again, this is throughout the system. Maybe you have a sales order where you, a customer has 17 items on a common order. You save a template and you upload it, and bam, there you are. You don't have to enter them all. It's common functionality throughout. These buttons across the top, really, really, really nice. And again, universal. You can put a note throughout the system. I'm going to type in the word test, and you will see this note is permanently attached to this journal transaction. You can do an activity. An activity would be, for instance, creating an event. Maybe you needed to have a meeting with Joe, Dick, and Sally at 1 o'clock on, May 21st in the conference room. You can do that here in the event. You can add a task. You can add an activity, which would be, in this case, an activity could be a chat, an email, an event, a message, a phone call. So let's just say I want to send an email, and I'm going to call this test as well, and I'm going to send it to Layla, select her, and then I'm going to say, test note, and hit save and close. So I'm going to send a note to Layla. She's got that note. It's automatically attached to this journal transaction and permanently attached, and you can have multiple ones as well. If you have this purchase, if you have what is that journal transaction? So if I drag over this journal transaction that I uploaded from, I just drag and drop, and there it shows up in the file. If I have this is W9, but it's a PDF, that's the point. I can save PDF, Excel spreadsheets, just dragging and dropping in your screen. This notifications, really nice. You can create notifications throughout the system. There's one in here for a journal transaction. If there is a debit, if the condition is the debit is greater than $10,000, the message is, there's a note to somebody that says debit's over 10K, and Anna Johnson's going to look at that automatically if there's a debit over 10,000. But maybe you have a sales order that needs approval or something like that. You can have automatic notifications, and you've got a customization button for light customizations right here as well. One other thing I'll mention, this template. You can save templates, and that comes in handy if you've got forms that are, to be filled in a common way. Whether it's, there's all kinds of different ways to use that template throughout the system, but that's one way to do it. Let me change gears here and go into the finance area just very briefly, and I want to hit the chart of accounts. So for you accounting folks out there, this chart of account in this particular instance is 5 digits, but it could be 4, 6, whatever kind of makes sense in your world. You've got all these different accounts here, and they're in these account classes. So we've grouped accounts in account classes, which makes reporting much more simplified to have multiple accounts in an account class. You'll also see these accounts are associated with cash accounts. So there's a bank, the banking module is fully built into Acumatica. It's not some afterthought. It's built in with bank reconciliation. Again, multi-currency applications come into play here as well. I want to hit this, I want to show you segmented keys. So if I go into segmented keys, this is a way to sub or slice and dice your data or dimensionalize your data. So if I hit this little magnifying glass, there's lots of ways to do that, but I'm going to go into sub-account. And in this particular instance, in this company, what we've done is we have broken it down using a 3-digit lengths for products and a 3-digit length for department. So we want to report on the products, whether it's a consumer good, electronic, or food item, or we want to break it down also by department, which would be, say, corporate, sales and marketing, purchasing, etc. And now what you can start to do is start to record costs, things like payroll costs by department or sales by product and things like that for reporting. And of course, you would have a lockdown on who would have access to seeing that type of data. The one thing that I will mention about these segmented keys is it's critical, and this is what we do, to have a robust conversation up front when we start the process of looking at your business. How do we want to customize the system? What reports do you want to spit out the back end? And that really dictates how we want to segment your data on the front end like this and truly see it. Let me show you how this shows up on a report. So if I go into the finance workspace, and I'm going to click profit and loss, and it just kind of defaults to the latest financial period. But one thing I want to mention is that there's 150 reports out of the box, and we can customize reports to really whatever you want to see. You can make this thing do backflips as far as reporting goes. But show you some of the big things here. You can schedule these reports, so I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to mention it. Maybe you have 7 people that want to see a sales report every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, and you can automatically schedule these reports to go out on a daily basis, weekly, monthly, whatever makes sense can be scheduled. I'm going to hit run this report, which is a P&L for April of 2020. And let me make this a little bit bigger. So when you get into the report, here is where you can see, these are account classes. I mentioned that earlier, where we grouped various accounts like revenue and revenue freight. These are account classes. And of course, you can drill down into these numbers. And from here, you can see accounts, sub-accounts for consumer goods, electronics, food. And of course, you can drill down all the way to a journal transaction. You can print these, you can email them. I mean to hit that button, but you can email these. You can export them to PDF and so forth. Another thing that's really nice, people love this. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. This groups button. This allows you to break it down. Like I mentioned before, you can do this roll-up reporting. So maybe I just want to see the P&L for products retail branch, or products wholesale branch, or product or services east. And you can do that as well. I'll show you another report here, a little bit different. This is a rolling 12-month P&L. And again, I'm just going to hit run the report. And it's the same columns, just different rows. And you can just use your imagination what you want these rows to be. Products, services, residential versus commercial. Just use your imagination. This is a rolling 12-month. You can hit this groups button again. This one's a little bit different. This one's set up by product. Maybe I just want to see my consumer goods P&L rolling 12-month, or food items. I think you get the idea. The other thing that I'll mention is there is a whole series of pivot tables throughout the system. Hit this customization button. This is invoiced items, pivot tables. And from here, make this a little bit smaller, you can drag all these different items and create pivot tables and then just hit, view pivot, and you've got pivot tables like built in the system as well. Back to the main screen. We'll mention this too. I mentioned it once. I'll mention it again. Power BI is a business intelligence tool, Microsoft tool, that the data within Acumatica can be shared with Power BI to truly give you some other different visuals on reporting and in some of these visuals like speedometers and maps and circles on maps, things like that, where you're profitable, that type of thing, is really nice and is completely built into Acumatica. I want to show you some workflow. I'm going to log out of this user, and I'm going to log into a different user, and this user is Wiley. And what Wiley does, Regina Wiley, is all she does is do purchasing. So when you go into her ID, you don't see all these workspaces because all she does is purchasing. She didn't log in, or her main menu is just a list of her purchase orders. So that's what she's seeing, and she can, of course, sort all this just like I showed you before and add columns and all that. Now, if I go in and say I want to add a new purchase order, I can go in here and say I want to look up my vendor. I can hit the magnifying glass and look at all my vendors, or I can just start typing. If I type AA, let's try that again. If I type in, let's try that one more time. It pulls up any vendor that has AA in it, whether it's in the middle of the name of the vendor or it's the first couple letters. That really doesn't matter. And I am going to add an expensive item here because I want to show you something. I'm going to add this injection molding machine. I'm going to do one. The reason I added it's a $20,000 unit before discounts. And when I take it off hold, you will see that this is pending approval. And the reason is it's tripped the business rule because Regina does not have the approval to order something over $5,000. That has to be approved. So I'm going to hit save. I'm going to log out of Regina. I'm going to go back into the administrator. And from here on the dashboard, I now see here's that purchase order under my approvals. And of course, I can approve this if I want to now. I could also, as the controller, have received an email. If this is an infrequent thing, I could a text message on my phone. I could go to my dashboard here. But I want to show you one other thing that I think you'll really like here, and that is the phone, what this looks like on your phone. Let me pull my phone up here. Okay, here is my cell phone. You'll see there's an application here called Acumatica. I click on Acumatica, and I'm going to hit this fingerprint to log in. It uses all the native capabilities of the phone. So from my phone, here I can do so many things. I can enter an expense receipt or an expense claim. I can do my approvals. I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I can look at all my calendar. I can look at the cases. What's a case that or a ticket? My sales opportunities, my pipeline. What tasks do I have to do? Who are all my contacts? Names, addresses, phone numbers. Maybe enter a sales order, a time card. Look at my business accounts. Or my projects. Maybe I want to look at my dashboard. I like this controller dashboard. Here's the controller dashboard. Same one you're seeing, behind the screen. If I scroll back up to the approvals button in the upper left, hit approvals. Here's that purchase order that I just entered. 19.4 after discount. I open it up. I'm the controller. I'm like, well, do I really need to spend 20 grand? I go down here. I can open up all the details on this. And then the three little buttons at the bottom right, I can approve this from my mobile device while I'm sitting on the beach. If I go back to my home screen here, just refresh this, you see it shows off it goes off on the home. It's all live. It's all pointed to the same server. show you something else that people really love about this, just an example. This expense receipt in the upper left-hand corner, I click on that, you'll see just a full listing of my expense receipts. And I'm going to hit this little button on the bottom right, and I'm going to take a picture of a receipt that I just took a customer out to lunch. And here is the receipt. And I'm going to hit done. Just took a picture of it on my phone. And it is now recognizing the fields on this receipt. It's using machine learning, artificial intelligence to actually pick up, in this case, what was the restaurant, the Fiola Mare, what was the date, what was the amount, and I'm going to enter the expense item here, which is business dinner. Then I'm going to hit the save button. Then I'm going to go back to Acumatica, time and expense receipts. Here's this Fiola May lunch I just put in here. I open it up. It was $356 for a meal. Hit this files button with the 1, and here is the receipt. I mean, you get the idea. This is a modern system that really leverages a lot of the benefits of the web. I want to mention a couple of things, finish up, leave some time for questions. I just want to mention from an integration standpoint there are so much built-in native capabilities to Acumatica. That being said, there are often times where it really makes sense to have a third-party specialized piece of software integrated in with Acumatica. As I mentioned before, I'll mention it again. Acumatica is built for the multi-cloud world, open APIs designed to hook into third-party applications very easily and quickly. I'll also mention import scenarios. Maybe you've got a payroll file or a bank file that you need to come in once a week. These can be scheduled once a week to come in, maybe reconcile your bank account once a month, something like that. Or as I showed briefly on that journal transaction, you can upload files. Again, that's throughout the system. You can do that. And the last thing that I want to mention to you folks is the security, the data integrity, because that's a very common question, like out of the box, hey, I'm concerned about my data. Well, first of all, you need to understand that this application, Acumatica, was designed from the outset with security in mind. The data is encrypted in the system. The data is safe. Whoever has access to what information, you set up the privileges, the permissions, so people just see what, everybody has their own ID. It's unlimited users. So you could have, access by screen down to the field level or user role. Maybe you can make even a field within a screen visible to some, and to the next guy it's visible, but he can actually, adjust that field or enter into that field. If you happen to go with the deployment option of software as a service SaaS model, we use AWS servers, the best in the business, the redundancy, the backups, the data recovery, multiple data centers, different geographic regions, multiple times a day. Your data is safe. You need to understand that, and it's designed to thwart any cyber attacks, things like that. And then finally, everything in the system, every change, every transaction is a complete audit trail, complete audit history. Who did what, when, IP addresses recorded, and all transactions are fully documented. With that, I'm going to open up my see if there's any questions here that I can answer. So if you guys have any questions, please put them in that chat button. I want to put my name and address up here again. I'm looking at my screen and I don't see any questions, but I'm going to wait a few minutes just to see if anybody has any questions. I will also mention this. I said it in the very beginning. Hey, this was a very broad, multi-industry, 30,000 level view of Acumatica. If you're interested, we'll take a look at your business and we'll focus in on what your business, needs are. We'll do a discovery call and then a customized demonstration to your business. So we're happy to do that. for anybody on this call or anybody that you know that might have interest in that. Gary, I see, and I'm also going to introduce Carol Polino is on this call, and she may be able to answer some of these questions as well. She's more technical than I. So Gary says, is there the ability to scan and upload invoices via metadata for AP invoices? Good question. I might ask Carol Carol, are you on this call still? Maybe I need to unmute you.
I'm here.
Oh,
hey everybody.
You are? Okay.
Yep, hi Gary. So you can make attachments. John, I think, showed you the file attachments. Those would be attachments that were previously scanned. So basically you're either dragging it over, like I showed you. You could drag it from an email if it's an attachment on an email. Or you can drag it from a folder or browse to the folder. It'll store it. It can store it in the database, or you can store it in external location. So the machine or the AI that he was showing you on the phone, it doesn't have that at this point as far as AP automation. There's some additional add-on tools if you wanted more of an AP automation tool, but it does have some ability to attach invoices and also route them for approval. So when you're doing approvals, those invoices would get routed with the approval.
Thank you, Carol. Just waiting to see if anybody else has any additional questions.
Hi, this is Lori Schifferly with Hospice Buffalo. Will you be having a PowerPoint that you can send out on this presentation? Russ and I had a hard time getting in for the first part of this.
Yeah, hi, Lori. I think we're going to send out the link to the recording, which would include the PowerPoint and the recording of the demo. Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Carol, while we're finishing things up, if you have anything that you wanted to add, please feel free. I don't see any more questions coming in, but we'll give it another minute or two just to see. Carol, do we have the email addresses of the folks on the call? We can send a copy of this link to this recording.
Yes, I think Elisa's going to send it out after the.
Okay, good. Okay.
That might be it, John.
Yep, I think so. I just want to give everybody one last chance to, if you had any questions. Thank you guys, Carolyn, I thank you all for joining us today. Sorry about the problems up front, but we'll send you a recording of this, and please feel free to share it. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Bye now.
Bye.